Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. It is a special Friday. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And you know why it's special?
I think I do.
You do?
I think I do.
This is episode number 100, Mark. Woo! There you go. How about
100?
Beautiful. So we survived. And I think there's some people still listening. That's great. Downloads are growing. Thank you for being a part of our show, being a part of this conversation these last few months. It's been kind of fun. We're in season 4 here. We've been talking about the secret of teams, building high-performance teams. I know a lot of you out there who are listening, you're trying to build your own team. You've got some people. You're trying to get them together and do some things. And so we've been counting the episodes. I got word that today is number 100, so that's cool. We have a scorecard, which is really important, and it's what we're actually talking about today. It's almost like we planned this, and I don't think we did.
No, we didn't plan that.
I think this just happened. But if you're going to have a high-performance team, you got to value the importance of keeping score. Just this idea of a scorecard that is driving your work. We've seen that. We've taught that. We've talked about it for years, and it's amazing to me still how many teams don't have a solid scorecard. They don't know what their most important numbers are. This is huge.
Yeah, it is huge. And it actually is more valuable than it might appear. Because if you've got a scorecard, it helps with alignment, it helps with engagement, it helps with focus, it helps with execution. It
tells you how things are. I mean, it just tells you what's going on.
It helps you know about corrective action that needs to be taken. It lets you know when you need to celebrate.
I think it was John Maxwell I heard one time years ago say the numbers will always tell you what to do. I mean, it's just there's so many good things when you have good numbers and you're measuring the right things. You're counting what counts, so to speak.
Yeah.
We had a fun experience a few years ago where we took some people bowling. I want you to tell them that story.
Yeah.
Because this was huge. We rented out a bowling alley. We had a bunch of people we were training.
About 160 folks.
Tell them about that, because this is an example of what we're talking about.
How this we took about 160 leaders bowling, and they were excited about it. This was at the end of a long day. We said, "Hey, you've worked hard."
And by the way, they're being paid to be there.
We're being paid.
Yeah.
And we're going bowling, and we put them in a bus and drove longer than we should have, but we had to find a bowling alley we could
that would rent us the whole place,
and we rented the place out. And so they showed up. They were excited, and they went in, and we said, "Okay, grab your shoe." Well, the shoes were already out there. We'd gotten their sizes in advance. Go to your lanes, pick you up a ball, and get started. And slowly but surely, you could sense this level of apprehension that came across
there was a little murmuring going on.
And some murmuring because they looked out at where the pins were supposed to be, and we had covered the pins. We had these heavy draperies hanging down in front of the pins, and there was just a couple of inches below the drapery, right? So you could actually tell there were some pins in there, but it was dark in there, and it was kind of weird. And they were going, "Well, we really can't bowl because we can't see the pins." And we said, "Your job is to bowl." I was on the public address. I was the announcer, and I said, "You need to just get your ball and get to work. Just roll the ball." And so they started bowling, and they were listening and trying to discern how many pins they were knocking down.
Arguing with each other.
And somebody said, "I knocked down 8," and the guy bowling with them said, "I think you knocked down 2," and there was some bickering going on, and people started stopping. And I got back on the microphone and I said, "Hey, you guys are on the clock. You got to roll the ball." They rolled the ball. We made them do that for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I can't describe the level of animosity that was in the air when we finally decided to give them a break.
I think they wanted to quit. I mean, they were quit their job.
They wanted to quit
or
find me and do something bad to me. It was not good. So we let them have a break. And you can guess what we did next. We went and pulled the draperies down.
Well, while you did that, I was over in the arcade with them, and we had pizza set up, and all that was going. So they liked that part.
On break, they were.
I said, "Y'all got to go back and bowl." They're like, they didn't want to.
Yeah, they didn't want to come back
until they saw that you had.
And we said, "No. We made a few changes."
Yeah.
And the energy just went to a whole new level.
It was crazy.
And they started keeping score.
Yeah.
And they started encouraging each other. Now there was a little smack talk, but.
Yeah.
but they were engaged and they were having fun. And I'm sitting there going, well, that's interesting. It's the same physical activity, right?
Same smelly shoes.
Same smelly shoes, same little fan, rolling the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what changed. And so we let them bowl for about 45 minutes. We called time. They didn't want to stop. We said, no, we got to stop. But I said, what was the difference in round 1 and round 2? And there were some mild profanities uttered about round 1. People did not
They still weren't happy with you.
round 1. And I said, well, what was different in round 2? And they said, we could see the pins and we could keep score and we could get better because we could make adjustments. And I said, great, I've only got one question for you. How was round 1 different than all the people back in your organization who've never seen the score?
Yeah.
They can't see the pins. And you wonder why they're not engaged. You wonder why execution is not where it needs to be. You wonder why people aren't improving. You wonder why people don't care. What would happen if you let them see the pins?
Yeah, that's so powerful, Mark. There's just so many people right now who their job is drudgery because they don't have a way to do that. So let's think about building a scorecard here for just a second. I would say there's probably a few things you should consider. These are ideas, but I would say you got to choose how many metrics you want on there. And I think we both would recommend the number ought to be closer to 5 than 10. I mean, if you start measuring too much stuff, there's things that get measured, but I would say, what are those core numbers for you and your leadership team to say these are going to be our most important numbers?
Let me say this. I have long been an advocate of a 2-page scorecard, page 1, page 2.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely for page 1.
Yeah.
You may put a lot of stuff on page 2, kind of the diagnostics, the numbers that contribute to those metrics on page 1. Yeah. But on page 1, the number is closer to 5 than 10.
Yeah, you want a few things that you're measuring.
Give some focus.
You're probably measuring a lot more than that, but I like that. There's some secondary numbers, and so we could say a lot more about that. I think making sure that your numbers are visible to everybody. They're seeing those numbers. It's like so many times we have goals that we set at the beginning of the year. We take the sheet, stick it in a drawer, and nobody ever talks about it. They got to be driving performance. So we need to be bringing them out in our meetings. You got some more ideas here? Things that you would say, if you're going to have a good scorecard, what would it look like?
Yeah, I think you need to hold it loosely. Now, there probably, let's say you had 5 metrics. There may be 2 or 3 of them that are going to be on that scorecard forever. Maybe sales, profits, and customer satisfaction. But don't get locked in to some things that may need to change over time. Maybe you've got a huge initiative or a huge project or some strategy that you're undertaking to take your business to the next level, and it's important enough that it goes on the scorecard for a season. So I would say dynamic would be important.
Yeah, I love that. We met years ago with an airline that was pretty successful, and they talked about how they had at one point tried to measure 44 things, and which was just, they said that was crazy. They ended up getting their list down to 8, and then they narrowed it on a couple more times, but they got down to one number that was their most important number. I love what they said. It's and I'm thinking, what would be the number one number of an airline? But they said, can we get our first flight out on time in every city? That was everybody, ticket agents, bag handlers, gate agents, everybody working, because those planes go back and forth. And they were saying basically if the first one's late, they're all going to be late. And I love that level of focus. Yeah. And everybody was leaned into that number. I think that's important. So when we get this, we show them what the pins are, it does cause engagement to go up. But I love the idea of those numbers driving our work. Give us a way to measure our success.
Yeah, because when your team comes together, you pull out the scorecard. Are we on track or are we off track? And if you're off track, you try to figure out why. That informs your problem solving. That informs your decision making. Yeah. And again, all the other benefits we've talked about over several episodes of just keeping score, having goals. Focus is a powerful thing.
Well, and I would say, I was just sitting here as you were talking, I was just sitting here thinking the goal is not to have a goal. The goal is not to have a scorecard. The goal is to move the ball down the field. And those things give us a target, and they give us a way to measure success along the way. And when people do see, oh, this is what we're trying to do, and they know this is what's important, they really do lean in. The excitement level goes up, and really engagement just at a new
Yeah.
level. So if you've
Well-
got an organization where people are, they're not, they're just going through the motions day after day, you're
Yeah.
struggling with engagement. It really might be that you've not shown them what matters most.
Well, you mentioned yesterday when we were talking about role clarity that the team is responsible to identify and solve problems. Well, how do you identify and solve problems if you don't have any metrics, if you don't have a scorecard?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you want that team to own performance improvement.
Yeah.
How do you do that if you're not keeping score?
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. All right, we'll leave it there. I hope you'll continue to join us. I want to ask you to do something to help us. We are committed to making the next 100 better than the last 100. Mark, we're going to do that. So we're going to put a little survey together. I think there's 3 or 4 questions.
Just
It'll
really
be very simple. But if you'll check the show notes, or it'll be in your newsletter if you're on the Lead Everyday newsletter every day. Love to have your feedback on what we could do to make this better. Do you want it longer, shorter, just right? You some of those kind of questions. And then anything that you would love for us to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. We are committed to you. This is about you, not about what we have to say. We're really trying to help leaders get better. We dream about a world well led. You can help us if you'll take just a couple seconds to lean in on that. That'd be great. All right, we'll see you next week. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.